My adult children live there. They pay all the bills for that house. And then I moved out to the tiny home so that I could retire early. After going through what I went through myself, there was domestic violence, and I have been homeless in the past. I needed to create safety for myself. Welcome to the inside of my greenhouse portion of my tiny home. Come on in, I'll show you the inside. Hi, my name's Josie and welcome to my tiny home. I had the company Genesis build my shell for me. They delivered it and they came out and then built the greenhouse onto it later on. This isn't something that Genesis usually does. If you go look on their catalog, they have like a few sheds and a few different greenhouses, but this was something I had to talk them into doing. They brought this giant building on the back of their truck. They had pilot cars come on each end. It was fascinating to watch them deliver this building and set it down on pier blocks for me. Then later on they came and they built this greenhouse. They came with it all constructed in pieces and built it like a Lego set in about 6 hours. I had this part designed to have an outdoor space so that in the Pacific Northwest I could be outside all year round. I also wanted the shell only, and I wanted to do all the contracting myself. The shell itself was $23,000, which I thought was very reasonable for the size, 12 by 14. And then also the greenhouse was around $8,000. Finishing out the house total, it cost me under $60,000 for the home and the greenhouse. The total process was about 10 months long. So this is 2¼ acres here. I have my main home right here. My adult children live there. They pay all the bills for that house, and I have it in a trust for them. And then I moved out to the tiny home so that I could retire early. One of the reasons I'm able to retire early is because I live in community with my adult children, and because they live in the main house and other buildings, they are paying all the bills for the home. So I am left with very few bills myself, and that's enabled me to downsize. I live a very simple life. It's not extravagant, and the most important thing to me is that I have a peaceful life and that I have community surrounding me. I have been homeless in the past, and I didn't want my children to experience that. It's very hard for this generation to purchase homes now. So the way we have it worked out, they're paying 1/3 of market value of what they would be paying if they were all out in apartments. So it saves them money. It also saves me money, and I'm able to retire early. I was in a long-term marriage, and I had to leave that marriage because there was domestic violence, and I needed to create safety for myself. And because I've created safety for myself, I've also created safety for my own children and their children. So this place has definitely been progress for me to find my own safety, to come out of fight and flight, and to get into rest and restore. It took me months of living out here to feel like I could really rest. And it's not always the spaces you create, but what's going on in your mind and how you're thinking. So it took a lot of deprogramming and convincing myself that I had created a safe place. And now my nervous system feels very regulated, and I feel very happy and calm being in my safe place that I've created out here. Come on in and see my tiny. Welcome to the inside of my greenhouse portion of my tiny home. The reason why I have the greenhouse addition onto my tiny home is to make it feel more spacious. I spend a lot of time out here, so I do count it as part of my living space. So instead of it being 336 feet inside, I also have 336 feet outside, and it just adds so much more space, living space. The sunlight comes through here and it saves a lot of money on the heating costs. In the summer, it does get hot in here, I'm not gonna lie. So I had 3 doors put in this greenhouse and I opened them all up. I actually cover this top with a shade cloth and run a fan through it. And it is very lovely in here in the summertime. It's not too hot. It's actually one of the coolest places on my property. Another thing I've done to alleviate some of the heat when it gets too hot in here is there's 2 fans up here that are solar powered, and the minute the sun comes out, they start up and pull the hot air out. So in the summertime, that helps with the heat as well. I am going to be putting a wood stove in here, and I want it to have baking capacity, so in the wintertime I can bake out here as well and utilize this space more. For now, I just hung this heater up here just so that when I'm sitting down here in the cooler temperatures, it gives a little bit of warmth. I have 3 of these heaters that came with the greenhouse, and I'm just using this temporary until I get my wood stove. It was really important for me to have this tree living in here. I rescued this tree from a demo site and it's been with me for many, many years. It was very important for me that it lives in here. I had a quince tree when I was growing up as a child, and these are the fruits of the quince. And also up here, I have a little sack of praying mantis eggs that are gonna hatch. So right now they're in dormancy, but they'll hatch in the spring. So pretty soon, when the spring comes, I'll have hundreds of little baby praying mantis in the tree. So I think that's pretty special. All right, now we've seen the outside of my tiny home. Come on in, I'll show you the inside. I'm going to show you my kitchen over here, which is a bit of a makeshift kitchen right now because I'm going to be putting a propane stove and some cabinetry up here. So right now I just have this little 2-burner stove and I have this little oven here and it seems to suffice. I have a little sink here that I use and I wash all my dishes in here. I don't have a dishwasher. I keep my food storage in here and I have dishes storage down there. So I put this here for extra counter space, and this is where I do all my food prep. I can sit there and eat my dinner. If I have company over, I pull one of the bar seats over here and I sit on this side. So this is gonna be my last home. I'm 53 years old, so I'm starting to think about not having to do stairs or ladders or anything of the sort. So it was important for me to have everything on one floor. I came out of my main house, which has 30-foot vaulted ceilings, and it was a bit of a challenge for me to think about living in a smaller space. So one of the things I didn't want to skimp on is the high ceilings. It's really important for me to have a feeling of space and to be able to move around, and also because I like a lot of light, I haven't planned on doing anything up high and utilizing that space. So my floors, when I had my floors put in, it was kind of a rush thing. I needed to get the floors done quickly, and I met a fellow at the Lowe's and he said he could come do my floors tomorrow, and I quickly chose my flooring and I don't like it. So I went out and bought some rugs, some very soft rugs, because I like the soft feeling on my feet. And it's not ideal because they're a little hodgepodge, but I love the way it feels on my feet. So that's why I have my rugs, and it also adds to the cozy feeling. So the next space I'm going to show you is my living room. This is my little seating area here, so when I have company come over, they sit down here automatically. And also I have grandchildren, so I always make sure I'm changing out my toys every couple of days for the kids, and they always get in here and throw everything all around and then go into the kitchen and look for food. So, so because we spend so much time visiting out in my greenhouse, I didn't need a lot of seating space in here. I do kind of wish I had a bigger couch for in here, because when I have my girlfriends over, I'm sitting here and she's sitting right beside me like this, so we're very close. But it's very cozy and I enjoy having this little spot here. So I have these little wall heaters that my electrician put in, and they are incredibly efficient. I have this one just on part way, and I don't need the other ones on at this time of year. In fact, I turn that one off midday because it gets so warm in here. In the summertime, I have a little window unit that I put for air conditioning because it does get quite warm in here. But if I cover all the windows and have the little air conditioning, it stays really cool in here. So the next space I'm going to show you is my bathroom. It's very small, but it has a good function. I have a bathtub here that I spend a lot of time in. I'm definitely not a shower girl. I could have had a shower put in here, but I love to have a bath. And this has this little handle on it here, which I also use for my biogas toilet. Right here, when I need to rinse it, fill it with water, I use this to do that. So there's no bucket with my biogas toilet, which a lot of people use. So that just makes it a lot easier. So the biogas toilet is a biodigester, so all the waste goes out into a tent and then it collects as a gas, and eventually I'll have it hooked up to my propane stove, so the gas will actually help me save on cooking gas. And it's just like a regular flush toilet. It has water in it, and I pump the handle like a boat toilet or something like that, and that's been a wonderful feature to this home. So in here, this is my bedroom, and I got this chase here specifically so that I could get up out of bed, make myself a cup of tea. I turn my heating blanket on and I crawl under my heating blanket. My puppies jump up on there with me and we have a little cuddle in the morning. I like to work on my computer here and look out the window, and it's just a really cozy spot. I have some stuffies here. I know I'm a 53-year-old woman, but I still really love to cuddle with things. And after my divorce, I remember just feeling like I wanted to have something to cuddle. So I started collecting these, and then my kids started buying them for me. They're really special. They all have names, and I know that's really silly, but it really brings me a lot of comfort. I have this projector TV that I put right here, and it shines up on this white space over here and makes a giant TV without having a TV. So if I completely want no TV in here, I just put this away and it doesn't exist anymore. So I bought this bed because it has a huge amount of storage underneath it. I store all my out-of-season clothing and shoes underneath here, and my linens as well. I do have another little storage area for my clothes that's behind that I keep my in-season clothing in. So I put this fun wallpaper up because I love nature again, and I love all the mushrooms, and I thought it was fun. I like to change the wallpaper. It's just peel and stick, so it's really easy to take on and off. And I have another set of wallpaper that I'll put up here later on in the spring season. So come and check out my garden with me. I started this garden a few years before I put the tiny home here. I started out by coming out to this field and just putting a piece of cardboard down and putting compost over top and thinking, this is a crazy idea for me to be building this garden, but it was a dream I really wanted to fulfill, and eventually put my tiny home here. So the garden was here before the tiny home. I have a bunch of berry bushes that I grow. I have some raspberries, and there is even still a few raspberries. Back here I have my garden. I have a little trough here that we fill up with water in the summer. Currently I have it on a slant so water doesn't collect in it, but we get really hot working out in the garden, so we like to jump in there. I have my greenhouse in the back, my hoop house, and I grow all the hothouse stuff out there, watermelons and tomatoes and that sort of thing. And behind that I have some chickens. So my goal here is that I'm going to have my home completely off-grid and be completely sustainable with the food that I create here. And I can currently live about 2 to 3 months just on what I make and grow. And I have the eggs from the chickens and also the vegetables and the berries. I grow mushrooms and nuts also. After going through what I went through myself, there was times where I couldn't find shelter. And so it's very important for me now that I've created this space that I can provide women a safe place to park at night. It's just a queen bed and a single bed here for women that are living in their cars if they want to hang out here. Also, some of my family members spend a night out here if they're coming to visit. Oftentimes people are just so happy to just have a place to relax and feel safe, and this has got a lot of natural light and it's a very cheerful little building. So it's been quite a few people have stayed in here over the last couple of years, and it's just a nice little studio. I am working in collaboration with somebody right now to create an app to gather resources for women. Also, I'm putting together a huge community of other women who are also willing to allow women living in their cars a safe place to park at night. It's a way for us to watch over each other. Women who are living in their vehicles are extremely vulnerable, and it's very scary out there. So it's important that we create safe spaces for women to be able to feel safe and not be in fight or flight 24/7.
If you like this week's episode, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. And check back soon because we have new unique home tours publishing all the time. And if you'd like to join our team and get access to members-only content and unique perks, make sure you click on the join button below.